All right, so I'm going to do a review and analysis of this interview with the Afterlife discussion on Open Your Reality channel. The Afterlife discussion, I believe her name is Sasha. She is pro Soul Trap, and Chad from Open Your Reality is anti Soul Trap. I'm going to give my thoughts. Here we go. Let's get started.
Yes.
So it is interesting. So how long ago did you start looking into the soul trap
Well,
trick?
it started it started for me. It was years ago. I was going through a lot of rough patches in my life growing up, from homelessness with my mother and my father. My father is half Scottish, half Native American. My mother is half black, half Native American, and half French. And so, growing up with my parents, I suffered a lot of homelessness, a lot of death and grief. And then that led to me having severe depression. I mean, severe depression. And I suffered from that for numerous years. And I kept asking, why? And at that time, I was a devout Christian. And I couldn't understand why this was happening, if God is so loving. And then I began to do research and find out and ask questions, and that's how I came upon the reincarnation trick. And then that's how I met a friend of mine who told me about what happens to those who goes through the reincarnation trick. And I didn't believe him. I said, oh.
Some call it a soul trap. Some call it a soul trick. I don't really like either names. I just think the soul trick sounds just kind of goofy to me. And soul trap obviously sounds like a dead end and kind of like you can't get out. So I don't really like either of them, but not really a huge deal. Now, what she had said about how she got into the soul trap and that she was homeless, had hardships, depressed. Many come into the topic from those experiences. I didn't. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't homeless. I was really enjoying life for the most part. But I kind of tend to go or think with what makes sense, what's logical, and I'm curious. And that led me to where I am right now. It seems like that's not the case, but I didn't come into it that way.
Oh, please, that sounds like a bunch of phantasm movie nonsense. I didn't believe him. And then he said, well, if you don't believe me, try it yourself. Do astral projection and try it yourself. And so what I did was I went ahead and my mother and I both, I had went under astral projection, and we saw what he saw. And it didn't happen. We tried astral projection the first time. It didn't work. Tried it the second time, it didn't work. The third time we tried astral projection, we actually astral projected, and we saw what he saw, and it was an absolute nightmare. And we now know, this is why, without a shadow of a doubt, we know once we leave here, we are not coming back here, because when you go through the reincarnation trick, horrible things await you. So horrible things. So
Really? Well, I've seen on YouTube two different types of experiences from NDEers, which is either they go to hell, and it's a very harrowing experience, to say the least. And then many of the NDEers say they go to heaven, where they meet with an exalted being that could be Jesus, an angel, maybe a family member, maybe it's God itself. And they feel a lot of unconditional love and acceptance, but they're told they have to go back. So you say that we get to go to a bad experience after our death here, but how do you rectify that some people have this heaven experience and some people have this hell experience?
Okay. Well, basically, what happens when you have NDEers who say, I had a near-death experience, and I saw the pearly gates. Like, perfect example, my mother had it in near death experience where she had saw the streets of gold. She saw the Messiah with the long white robe and the curtail, and she saw the gardens where people were praying and singing. Well, the reason why that's shown to near-death experiencers, from what I have researched and what I have understood through experience, is because of the fact that the one who brings forth that experience to the near-death experience person wants the near-death experience person to go out and tell what they saw. And so upon them telling what they saw, that encourages the belief, oh well, heaven is for real. So this is what happens when I die. I will go to heaven. And the same thing with people who have near death experiences of hell, is so that the person who had the near death experience can come and tell people, hey, I saw hell. Hell is real. And
Yeah, exactly. I've heard that people say, I think it was Forever Conscious Research said that it's like they're like the marketers. They do the marketing for, for the God, there's so many names like that. Everyone calls these, these entities, these beings, archons. But yeah, you're like the sales people for them, and it makes sense. But one thing that many don't mention, and this is something that the Stephen at the Sandy Machine has mentioned many times, is that it's a huge red flag that they wear clothes, they wear robes. There's a garden. There might be like, I don't know, like a beautiful, shiny castle, on a hill. There might be, obviously loved ones from the past, relatives that had passed, that had died. Why would they need to be wearing clothes? That's something that doesn't make any sense. It seems manipulative, deceptive for sure. The whole thing's manipulative. But that should be something people should question and say, if you're a spirit, you don't have a body, especially someone as powerful as maybe like a Jesus, right? Because many people will see Jesus in their death experiences. I'm not saying he should just be naked. He shouldn't have a body at all. It shouldn't be like a human body, where he's got the robe, he's got like the beard, and there's the whole look, the Jesus look thing. So that should be something that people question. But I don't hear many people question that.
And if you don't want to go to hell, you have to believe in one of the many religions, which are all false, here on earth. And so that's the reason why these near-death experiencers are shown heaven and hell. There was a movie called Heaven is for Real, and the little boy claimed he saw heaven. Well, yeah, he saw heaven. He saw an hallucination of heaven. That's what he saw, because heaven is not for real. That is an hallucination to get people to believe in the white light that they see after death will take them to heaven. And especially if you're good, but if you are bad by not believing in one of these earthly religions, you're going to go to hell. And I do want to say all religions, including Christianity, are absolute false.
And I agree. Now, what is the fascination with heaven? That's not where I would want to go. It doesn't sound like fun to me. It sounds like another trap or another trick. Why it just doesn't make sense. Heaven for eternity. I'd rather just go create things, not be in this box of like, now you're in heaven, and but God, can I get out? Can I exit heaven and just kind of wander around? No, you must stay in heaven. Then it's not heaven anymore. And in heaven, do people get to listen to whatever music they want? Do you get to listen to metal music, where the classical music listeners get to listen to their classical music? Do you all get along? Do you enjoy the same things? Basically, that's what I'm getting at. Like, how does that work? It just sounds like another trick, trap, and of course, showing these near-death experiencers heaven is going to make them come back and say, see, guys, it's real. Heaven is real. And then the ones who experience hell are going to say, hell's real as well. And that's just going to continue the deception.
Okay. But how can you be so sure that it's true that we're being deceived?
Because I've been there. I've experienced it through astral projection. This
Because Jesus doesn't have clothes, or shouldn't have to have clothes, and there shouldn't be robes, and there shouldn't be castles, gardens, guards, like actual guards. That would tell me this is all just an illusion. This is all fake. It's another deception.
brings me to a good point. My friend through astral projection, and he is currently on Reddit. He's been on Reddit for a long time. He goes by the Reddit name Astro Rocker, and he's a very good friend of mine, and he's been trying to warn people. He had stated how he had went through astral projection many times, and he has seen people who have gone to a realm after dying and going to the white light. They have been taken to this realm, whereas it's absolute dictatorship. And these people who have gone to this realm, they have all told him, we believe in God, we believe in heaven and hell, and yet we're here. And this realm is a realm that is completely controlled by the demiurge, who is Enki. And in this realm, if people think that we're in dictatorship here, and this realm that is there is horrible. It is more dictator to there than it is here. And people that are there in this realm, they are there awaiting to be reincarnated. And they are forbidden from using their abilities while in this realm. Every couple of days, they have what is called a harvesting ritual, where the Isbis there, which is what I call them Isbis, the Isbis there, which also means souls, but I can use word Isbis, they are mandated to attack each other, to the death. But even though they're already dead, but it's a simulation of dying and then coming back to life again and repeating the process again. And this is done for the purpose of extracting loose energy from the souls, Isbis, that are there. They are mandated to attend classes to brainwash them into believing that the reason why they're there is because they have to pay back bad karma. When there's a situation that happens where the god who controls that realm, who created that realm, who is Enki, when he is about to come through that realm, someone in that realm will yell out to everyone there, Lucifer is coming, Lucifer is coming. And
now, I'm sure Sasha, is a very nice person. I'm sure she means well, but everything she just said could mean everything and could mean nothing at the same time. It, to me, sounds like that is the kind of stuff you say to sell books. Now, she is an author. She has written a couple books, at least one, that she sells on Amazon, I believe. It's $14 or so. And I know that because I watched the previous part of this live or interview, and she mentioned that. But this is all subjective. This is a story from the Astral Rocker. I don't know if it's the rock and roller rocker or rocking chair. I just visualize someone chilling in a rocking chair, just rocking back and forth in the astral realm. But maybe it's something different. I don't know. And then the demiurge, and Enki, is that it? Enki. All these names, they're all different. And they're just stories. They're just subjective. There's no hard proof for it. And everybody's experience could be completely different. And this is something that is very, very common with these experts of the soul trap, these gurus. They speak in absolute terms. They rarely will say, this is just my opinion. This is just what I think. I could be wrong. Because that doesn't sell books. That doesn't sell services. And people fall for it. And they don't question. They don't say, well, you don't have any evidence. Where's your evidence for that? So, they'll tell you in the beginning, like, this was X's experience, in this case, Astral Rocker's experience, but then they'll just go on and talk about it like it's fact.
At that point, everyone in that realm has to get on their knees so that when the demiurge, who is Enki, when he walks through that realm, everyone is bowing to him. Then when it comes time for them,
And by the way, I'm not trying to be righteous or anything, or better than anybody else. But if I knew the truth, if I really knew the truth, I wouldn't be selling a book to people for $14. I would just tell them the truth. Maybe I would write something and they could download as a PDF for free. I've said this before in other videos. I mean, I would find other ways to make money. I think something that many of us discover on our journeys is that there isn't a lot of evidence out there. And the responsible thing to do, in my opinion, is to leave money out of it. Leave the business out of truth. There's no business in truth. There shouldn't be any business in truth. But we see it. We see it all the time. I wouldn't be able to do it in my conscience.
them to be reincarnated, they are put on a slab. And I saw this through astral projection myself. The same thing my friend saw. My mother saw the same thing through astral projection. They are put on this slab. And when they're put on this slab, they are jolted with hundreds of thousands of volts. It is worse than being fried in an electric chair. And they are, brutally just reincarnated back down to this realm here. And that realm exists for anyone who goes through the white light after death. And I like to call it. And
so by that rationale, you're saying that our time here on Earth is actually heaven, and when we die, it's like hell.
No. This, you can only go to that realm if you decide to go through the light after death. Let me give you an example. Let me use, for example, myself. If I were to die and I see the white light, first, upon the person dying, they'll see the white light. They'll see the angels, the spirit guides. And by the way, all spirit guides are nothing but archons. They're not real. There's no such thing as spirit guides. They'll see the spirit guides. They'll see the angels, and the angels do not look like the angels with the humans with the wings. These are actual, believe it or not, they're eyes that are encrusted with diamond rings around them. There are pictures of them on TikTok of how they call them serapins, but that's exactly how they look. That's how the angels look. They don't look like people with wings, but you'll see all of this. And you'll see a Messiah, and you may see loved ones, and they're in front of the light. Sometimes there's not a light; it's just them, and they're telling people, "Come on, you've done good. Now you get to go home." If you go with them, then that realm that I just explained, that's the realm you're going to go to while waiting reincarnation. Now, if you decide,
well, again, that's just a theory. That's just an idea based on someone's subjective experience. I'm not saying it's not true. It's something on the table, but again, it's being spoken about like it's true, like it's a fact. There's no like, oh guys, and by the way, your experience could be a little bit different. Everybody's could be way different. Who knows? Like these near-death experiences that we can research, I believe most of the people that they're being sincere, but we really don't know what they experienced. And they weren't people that, I don't think there's ever been a soul trap or a soul trap believer that's died or has had a near-death experience that I've heard of. I'd love to see it. So these are not people who are questioning this reality, thinking it was a soul trap going into it. So they probably had a much different experience than what many of us will have, right? But that's not said here. I'm glad that she said that not in every instance there's a white light, because there isn't always a white light. So it's not just as simple as avoiding it. I find that there's many people, many of these gurus or experts, that they basically make it out to be that you just have to avoid the white light. I don't think it's that simple. So we'll continue here.
Try to do the right thing and say, no, I'm not going with you. I'm sovereign. And you turn away from them, then you have the chance to leave this matrix by going through the grid and going to the free universe, which I like to call pleroma. So that's the choices that you have after death. You can either go with them and go to this realm where you are going to go through torture, and it is torture. There are dogs attacking other dogs in that realm, people fighting each other through bloody death. I mean, it is horrible. And I explain this in my novel as well. Or you can choose to turn away from them and say, I am sovereign. I am going back home to source, or I'm going back home to the free universe, which I call pleroma. And then you can go there. But no, heaven on earth.
Yeah, again, it's the story again. And I think a lot of people, especially people who didn't watch the beginning, they might just think, oh, well, that very well might be what happens. And that could really mess up their mind in some ways. It could limit the possibilities. It could be troublesome. Now, what she had just said about, go back to source, the free universe, again, and I've said this in other videos that I'm not going back to source. I don't know about you. I don't want to go back to source, and I am certainly not going back. I never came from source. There's no source that we know of. There's no evidence that there's any source. And going back to source, which a lot of these expert gurus, these businessmen and women who sell the soul trap and they sell the solution, they generally will say there's a source, many of them, and that that should kind of be your mantra, should be to go back to source, or the free universe. It's kind of the same idea, or to go home. Many of them will say, go home. I want to go home, or I'm going home. I don't trust that. Now, you can trust that all you want. I don't really trust that because of the people it's coming from. And when it comes to the going home, the other one, which is going back to source, I don't, because there's no evidence of source. And again, this source, I mean, is that where all the murderers and the rapists go as well? I really do think this realm could be similar to They Live, the movie. There could be demons and evil beings in human bodies, being disguised in a body. Now, do they all go back to source too? But again, we know that there's murderers, there's rapists, psychopaths, narcissists. Are we all one with them in source? And of course, that's another program, which is the oneness and sameness as well. But I am not going back to source. I'm not interested in going back to any source. As I have said before, I have never been created and I cannot be destroyed.
No, Earth is not heaven. Earth is a prison planet. Earth is a prison planet of suffering. None of us are.
And again, she keeps saying prison planet, like planet, the word planet, which is another program. Now, you can believe we live on a planet or not. You can believe it's, just a level plane, or it's a planet. You can, or whatever, you can believe whatever you want, but there's no evidence that we live on a planet. So why give the authorities, the governments, the elites who came up with their Freemasonic planet, with the sun in the middle, the heliocentrism. I'm wearing headphones right now, and they're kind of, they're hard to kind of hear. So it's hard to hear myself, but the heliocentric model, that is bullshit. And saying planet is just kind of giving a nod to the ones who created the idea. I'm not going to give them any credit. They take from us every day. They take. Well, I'm going to take from them. I'm going to say, I'm not going to call this a planet. There's no evidence, no proof. So to me, at least, and to some others, maybe not, but to me, it's a red flag for somebody to call the Earth a planet. A lot of these people do. We just don't have evidence. You don't have to call it, a flat plane, flat Earth, whatever. You don't have to call it whatever you think it is. Just call it Earth.
Are supposed to be down here in the first place. But we were tricked into coming down here. And I don't recommend anyone coming back down here because this planet is continuously getting worse and is going to get even worse because the simulation is ending. So, no, this is not a heaven. This is a prison.
So how many times do you think personally you've reincarnated on Earth?
Hundreds. I want to explain this. As everyone can see here, I am brown skin. I am biracial. I have Black heritage in me. I have Scottish heritage, French heritage, Native American heritage. But
so what?
For so many years growing up, I was drawn to the medieval times, and I couldn't understand why. I was drawn to anything that was in the medieval period, the colonial period. Well, come to find out, under doing past life regression therapy, in my past life, I was...
All right, so if you guys want to go over to Beck's Lard channel, grumpy old Matt McKinley of Quantum of Conscious, check that out. Should probably have turned my notifications off. Sorry about that.
In those times, and that's why I was drawn to that. We have all reincarnated. A lot of us, well, I won't say all, but a huge majority of us have reincarnated here so many times. We just can't remember, because once we go through the light, and while we are awaiting reincarnation, we are taken through a memory wipe, so that when we do get reincarnated back down here, we don't remember our past lives. This is why I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I feel so old, I feel so tired. Well, you are old. You are millions of years old, but you just can't remember it.
Well, when I was a child, I was not tired. I wasn't thinking I was old and tired, at least physically. So the way that she described it doesn't make sense to me, doesn't resonate. As I get older physically and have more responsibilities and more challenges, then yeah, things do wear on you. Reality wears on you and wears you down. But no, I mean, as a child, it's almost like it's a reset, and you just have a new body and you're good, But I don't know if this was my first time or 100th time or 1,000th time. I find it very odd that if it is like my 100th time, that that I've been able to wake up so easily this time. It's like, did I always wake up and just could never get out? So I don't think it like helps to be like, hey, I've been here 100 times, 1,000 times. Cause it's like, to me, that tells me that it's the probability of getting out of here is very low, very, very low. And if, let's say that this is my 101st time and I was able to wake up, well, why do they make it so easy? Let's say I never woke up before and this is the first time and I'm going to get out. Why do they make it so easy for me to wake up this time, but not the other times, not the other 100 times? So it could very well be my first time. It could be my second time. 100 times, 1,000 times. That doesn't look good. That just doesn't look good for our situation. And I don't have any evidence of that either, that I've been here 100 times, 1,000 times. So I don't like to assume it. It could be, but I'm just not going to assume. And again, a lot of these experts, quote experts, they basically say the same things, that we've been here 100 times, 1,000 times, avoid the light. Many say we consented to come here, that we have a soul contract. We have a contract that we signed, and we must adhere to that contract. But we can break the contract, though, once our bodies die. We can break the contract, and they tell you how to do it. and all that, they just repeat the same things over and over again. And one of them, which kind of annoys me, is this: we've been here 100 times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. We've been here millions of years, billions of years. Well, that doesn't look good when it comes to the likelihood of us freeing ourselves.
This is why you have a lot of people that are drawn to certain things, and they don't understand why they're drawn to them, because in their past life, those things were attached or connected to them. So all of us have been reincarnated hundreds of times. We've been here hundreds of times. We just can't remember it because of the memory wipe.
Well, again, that really sucks, to be here. And then people will say, well, we woke up this time because we have the internet and we can share information more efficiently and faster than ever. That may be true, but don't you think this system that's so reliant on us, our energy, our attention, our focus, don't you think that place, these entities would be like, yeah, we're not going to make it that easy. We're not going to give them the internet. I just see it being a major red flag. People who say that and then just think, oh, well, you'll just get out this time. It'll be easy peasy. Your 1,000th time, you'll get out. I see that as being a red flag. But I also don't see any evidence that we were here 100 times or 1,000 times.
Do we reincarnate in time sequentially, meaning chronologically, or can we be reincarnated at any point in time?
Well, it's chronologically. After you die, again, if you choose to go through the light, you come back down here in a new baby body, and sometimes you may live for...
Another thing that's interesting too is that how do we know that we came here as babies? I might have come here as a baby, but I might have come here possibly after birth. Maybe I came into this body a few months later. I don't remember the day that I died. I remember when I was a baby, though. Like a little baby, probably 1 year old, under 1 year old. I'm not saying that that's proof of anything or evidence. But again, it's just all these assumptions that we came here as a baby. I think it would be great for us to all kind of open our minds and kind of start from scratch and stop, thinking, about, I was going to say thinking logically. I want us to think, all of us to think logically, but that's not necessarily logical in the place that we're in. It doesn't have to be. It could be, we could have come here at 3 years old or 4 years old. Many people I know can't remember before 5 or 6 years old. It's just something to think about.
4 or 5 years, sometimes maybe 20, 30 years, maybe 100 years. You die and you go, and once you go through the light the first time, it's an endless loop. So you do it again and again and again and again and again. And then what happens is, after a while, after so many times of reincarnating, the soul, which again I call an ISB, it begins to disintegrate from any body that it is reincarnated into. And the reason why is because after so many times of reincarnation, the soul begins to get tired. It loses its energy. And at that point, believe it or not, and I saw this through astral projection, at that point, when the soul can no longer stay in the body that it is reincarnated into, Enki, who is Lucifer, who is also the demiurge, he eats up what's left of the soul. And I've seen this happen during astral projection. So has my friend. It is a very horrific process. And I do want to say, in that realm where you are awaiting reincarnation, all of your nerves work there. Even that you would say, well, how is it that the nerves work when you're not in a body anymore? Enki, who created that realm, has made it so that you can still feel things up there. And they have astral law enforcement soldiers up there. Whereas if you get out of line, you are not to question authority while you're there. And if you ever question authority, Enki has what is called astral law enforcement soldiers that are there who will beat you. And I've seen this through astral projection, so is my friend. They will literally beat you, and you will feel the beating, even though you're not in a body form. It is a horrible place. And I know a lot of people say, oh, well, this sounds like, this is fear mongering. It's not fear mongering because you don't have to go there. the good thing about it is that you don't have to go there. This is what Enki, who is Lucifer, who is the demiurge, he wants people to go there, but you don't have to go.
See, it's not very encouraging that she believes that it's chronological, because this world is not getting any better. But I guess it's good in a way, because it just gives me that extra push to get the fuck out, because I don't want to come back here in 2070 or 2050, 2090, whatever it would be. I remember when I used to want to live until 2100. I was like, I want to live for 3 centuries. I want to be someone who, witnessed the 20th century, 21st, and 22nd. This was a long time ago, folks. I could care less about being here that long. I do not want to be here that long.
And so that's the empowering thing of it. So yeah, I could go on, but I don't know if you want me to.
No, it's all good information, and I have a lot of questions. But so, if we die, your recommendation is not to go to the light.
Yes, don't go.
Can we? You think that we?
Yes, don't go.
We will consciously remember that if we die, like if somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, very good question. What I recommend people doing, and this is what I intend to do, is on my deathbed, I am going to be listening in my ears, because your hearing is the last to go upon death. I plan to be listening on my way out to the affirmations. Don't go through the light. Don't go through the light. And if you're carrying that knowledge over, once you cross into the afterlife, you don't go into the light. Now, it is recommended not to fight not going into the light. Don't try to fight it, because it's like if you have one of those mouse traps. The more the mouse fights, the more that it gets stuck. It's recommended you don't have to fight. Just calmly say, I am sovereign. I am turning away. Now, what may happen is that Enki and his archons, which again, Enki is a demiurge, they may try to lure you into a fight. They can't make you go with them, but they can try to lure you, encourage you, scare you into going with them, including by using fighting methods. Oh, okay, well, we're gonna fight this person and this is where the abilities come in. Now, this may sound weird, I know. And I know a lot of people may not believe this, but hey, that's on them. It's the truth. These films, X-Men, Captain America, all these Marvel films, those abilities, we all have those abilities. We have pyrokinesis. We have telekinesis. We can shapeshift. We can teleport. We have actual abilities just like in those films. The reason why we can't bring them forth here is because we have so many blockages in this prison planet that blocks us from using those abilities. However, once we get to the afterlife, those abilities come forth and we can use them in case if Enki and his archons say, okay, but we're going to fight that person to try to lure them into coming with us. But then you use those abilities. We have the ability to create a protective barrier around ourselves. And so, yes, I recommend, please, people do not go through the light. It may seem like, oh, well, that's my husband, that's my wife, that's my mother, my father, but it's not them. Those are hallucinations by Enki. And
yeah, I just don't know if it's going to be that way for somebody like myself. I don't think it would work. The only thing that might work is just to love bomb the shit out of me, frequency weapons, use something to really just sort of disarm me and make me confused and not know what's going on, basically. That would be my biggest concern as far as like falling for any of these tricks, like walking into the light or, having loved ones guiding me. That's not going to work. I don't think there's any way that's going to work. I mean, if I had just woken up to this reality a few months ago and then passed, maybe something like that would work. But I've had a few years at this, and then I think I'm probably not going to leave this realm until many more years. So I think it's going to be pretty much cemented, if that makes sense, into my subconscious, or at my core, I'm going to know that for sure, that I am a sovereign being. I am a free being. I'm a powerful being. I am an independent being, and there is no authority over me. And I'm going to always remember all the silly NDEs with all the tricks that they play. And I'm not going to fall for it. So they're probably going to try something different, I would expect. And all this, like, avoid the light, don't, follow your relatives into there. It doesn't really help me.
And I can't explain enough how crazy Enki is.
Well, it's interesting because I follow the work of Tom Campbell, and he says that they are kind of like projections too.
Yes.
He says, he says their what he calls free will awareness unit or soul has expired, and it's just the database projecting the likeness. Do you believe that there is one prime creator of everything, God, so to speak?
Well, there's it's the universe. It's Mother Gaia. And that is the prime creator of a lot of things. We are the fragment.
And I love how it's like, it's a mother Gaia, and why are we calling it mother anything? Why are we calling it any name? And where's the proof? Where's the evidence of this creator of everything? I don't have any evidence for it. So to be so certain, to me, again, is a red flag. Again, it's selling books. If I had a book to sell, I would just tell you, well, this is the way it is. And here are the solutions. This is what I would do. This should work. You're going to be pretty confident about what you have to say because you want to sell books. That's a red flag, folks. I don't want any harm to anybody here. I don't want any harm to anybody, especially people that are good, well-meaning spirits. I want everyone to be able to experience freedom and just the joy of being and existing, and the things that you can do and create. That's what I want for all of us. And I wouldn't be able to write a book and sell it to you. I wouldn't be able to sell the book because I'd be like, well, I'm not sure about this, but these are some reasons why I might think that this is the way out, but I really don't know. And we all just kind of have to decide for ourselves, and it's a personal journey for everyone. We're all individual in this, and you kind of have to find it for yourself. And, I don't really know about this. I don't know about that, but I think this, I have a feeling about that. That's not going to sell books. That's not going to sell programs, and that's not going to sell services within this space, spirituality, soul trap kind of space. What sells books is, this is what the earth is. This is what the matrix is. The astral realm is that. And, something, ABC created this whole place. Mother ABC. It's never Father ABC. It's always Mother ABC. Like there's that duality. This is the matrix is duality. I was going to say it created duality. If I was writing a book, I would say it invented duality. But it's all about duality. And then, okay, so the creator of everything that created, I guess, all of us is a mother or a father. It's that duality again. So that's the matrix. Okay, we got to get the matrix out of our consciousness, out of our thinking, this duality, the universe, the laws of physics, right? That's all confined here in the matrix, not outside the matrix.
Of the universe of Gaia, but Gaia is not to be worshipped. We're not to worship anyone because I keep telling people we are the gods. We are our own gods. So there's no God that we should worship. But we are to know that there is the creator is Gaia, and that the creator is there, which is the universe. But no, there's not a God that we should worship. And
yeah, she doesn't have evidence for it, and she can't just say, I don't know. She just can't say because she has to sell books. I just can't wrap my head around why somebody would want to do that and remain and have integrity. Because I know that a lot of people will fall for it. They'll buy the books. Maybe I'll buy her book just for research purposes, just out of curiosity. But no one's, going to, nobody that has, I don't know. Nobody who's moral is going to tell you the truth that they have no evidence for and sell it to you for $14.99 or whatever it is. Yeah, do you guys understand that? I mean, I think a lot of you do, that if you're telling people the truth, but you don't have evidence for it, it's not really the truth, is it? And then you are having people pay for your book that you don't have evidence for. It's a subjective experience, and some of it's not even her own experience. But I haven't read the book, so I'm not going to judge too much, because maybe she says, this is just my experience. Use discernment, your own judgment. But still, the way she's talking here, the confidence, the absoluteness of what she's saying is, makes me skeptical.
That's basically it. Is just yes, there is a universe. So
Okay, the reason I ask is because my next question would be, why would Gaia or God or whatever is sustaining or creating all of this allow Enki to do what he's done to all of us?
good question. Well, see, Enki is a part of the Anunnaki, and
Well, I can answer that. It just proves that the creator of all things is evil, to allow this evil to happen. Not only that, but to allow it to continue. It just means that what created everything, which I would assume created you and I as well, which I don't believe. But if that was the case, that means it's evil, and we're all evil. And I just don't buy that. I don't buy that.
the universe is more. How should I put this? The universe is like it's an energy, and the Anunnaki, they're how should I put this? The Anunnaki, they didn't start.
See, I hate to just continue to just sort of pick apart what she's saying or criticize or be critical. But that's what my channel's about, is being critical. It's a critical channel. I just can't help but to say it sounds like that it's like she's just repeating what she's read or what she's been told. And instead of just, like, it doesn't sound like it's just coming from herself and her own intuition, her own thoughts. It's come from books. And she's trying to remember what she's read, or, oh, what did that say again? What was the order? What was that person's name, or that, entity's name, or whatever? It's just trying to remember, like you're memorizing stuff, like a school, research paper, that you're doing all this research, or you're doing a presentation. You did the research for the presentation for a college class, and now she's, giving her presentation. It's not just like coming from her as a being, because as a spirit, we have our own experiences, and we have our own observations and, research that we've done, and our own intuition, that we can kind of go off of. We can have these conversations and sound intelligent, using logic and reason and your intuition. So you don't need to I don't have to repeat from books all the time. I don't really trust what's in the books. to be honest with you. So, and I think that experiences that people have in the astral, could be beneficial, but could also be deceptive too. So it'd just be nice to just kind of, I want to feel like, Sasha's telling me what really is coming from her. What's from inside, from within, and not just parroting information. That's just what it sounds like to me.
Start out being evil, but somehow, from what I understand it, Enki became evil because, from what I understand it, is that he went to this forbidden zone. And when he went to this forbidden zone, that's when he went mad. And that's when he came out of this forbidden zone with nothing but these archons who had came into the creation from this forbidden zone.
And here's the thing too. So I hate to cut this off. This is not a short video. If you don't like long videos, then, just pause it, come back to it. But it's not going to go on too much longer. But I just have to, kind of cut in here and say this is Open Reality channel. And it's not a pro soul trap channel. It's more of a love and light channel. It's more of a, this is a school. This earth is a school. It's to learn. It's to grow. That's what this channel is about. So I can't help but to think what's going on in his mind as she's saying these things and what his audience is thinking. I can't help but to think that the majority of his audience are not going to be persuaded in any way. That they are, if anything, they're going to be further detached from the idea of it being a soul trick or a soul trap. Because it just sounds like a religion. It just sounds like she's reading from her Bible or reciting from her Bible, from the Bible of the soul trap. It doesn't look good to the audience of Open Your Reality, because it looks like just more religious nonsense the way that she's presenting it. Now, this is just my opinions. This is just my observations. I don't know much about the Afterlife discussion channel. I've kind of skimmed through it a little bit, but after a while, they're all just the same. They all say the same things. And especially if they're writing books and selling books, I mean, at this point, at this stage, I don't really need to do much more research. I'm going to judge right away. But yeah, this is not persuading Chad's audience or influencing them in a positive way at all towards the soul trap idea.
And that's how he became to be evil. They were never evil to the point of how they are now. Now, let me just state this. The Anunnaki, they never liked humans, period. The only reason why they created humans, and again, the Anunnaki consists of Anu, the main Anunnaki consists of Anu, Enlil, and Enki, and then Herseg. But the only reason why they created humans was to be a slave labor force for them, which isn't really considered evil. It's just them being just selfish. I don't want to do the work, you all do it. But it's when Enki went to this forbidden zone and he came out of this forbidden zone, that's when he became evil. That's when the material world came into being. And that's when he became a opponent to the universe. And I have heard a lot of people say that there is a battle between good and evil in the universe, between, the universe and the good beings, and Enki and Marduk, who is his son, and their beings, over trying to stop them from doing what they're doing. But, Enki and Marduk, his son, are pretty strong. So, but yeah, they didn't start off being evil. They just started off being selfish people who just created humans for their own slave force. But Enki and Marduk, just along the way, they became evil beings. And I do want to say as well, I'm sorry, my apologies. For those who don't know, Marduk is Enki's son. Marduk is who everyone knows as.
All right, we're gonna skip ahead here. I want to learn more about this prison planet here. I want to see what they talk about there, and then, we might go into a little bit more, but that's going to pretty much be the end of it. But yeah, why don't just go off your personal experience and what's here and what we can prove, and not all this religious shit. Honestly, it was interesting how she said earlier that all religions are false. Well, you're making the soul trick into a religion, it sounds like. I mean, this is all religious stuff to me. This would not help me, in the beginning, before I was open to the idea of soul trap. This would not have influenced me. I mean, give me Tony Sayers any day. Give me Forever Conscious Research any day. Give me Howdy Bukowski even. Because at least they're giving me some real stuff. Some stuff that's real. I don't recommend those channels. I don't think those are legit. I don't think they're being completely honest. They're selling stuff. Howdy sells stuff. Tony sells stuff. Forever Conscious Research sells stuff. They kind of overcharge too. I mean, they're not, I want you all to think for yourself, but I don't think they're trustworthy. They're making truth into a business. Let's see about the Prison Planet.
If you weren't so sure about everything you just said, and all you knew was the reality of Earth, would you think it was a prison planet?
Yes, I would. I definitely would, because of the experience.
Well, I did a video recently, 33 reasons why this is a hell realm / prison planet or whatever. And it's very simple. We're born into slavery. We have no memory of the past. There's things like that people won't think is significant, but weather, like hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, floods, wildfires, all those natural disasters. You get all these diseases, the potential to have disease, on and on. We were not made to be in nature, in the wild, just based on observations, right? I mean, we have to have tools. This is pretty obvious. Clothing gets pretty hot in the summer, gets pretty cold in the winter in many places. So it's not like these nice mild climates all around the world. So, we lose loved ones. We lose pets. That's very sad. Just suffering all around. People have PTSD. They have traumatic moments in their life. Some people have kind of milder trauma. If you're a male in many countries, especially in the U.S., many have circumcision at birth or right after birth. Just on and on. You get old, your body gets brittle, it breaks down. And then there's positive things, there's good things, but they don't last very long. It's like then you got to get up and go to work again the next day, or you might have fun for a little while, but then you got to focus on survival, which brings me to that you need to eat food. You're a slave for food. So, it's not very hard for me to explain why this would be a hell realm or this would be a prison planet. But, it just from Sasha here just doesn't seem like she's really quick with it, It doesn't seem like it comes natural. Let's see.
Experiences that I've had. Now, I will admit, before I learned about the prison planet theory and the reincarnation trick theory, I always felt that something was wrong in the world. I mean, we have homelessness, we have racism on all sides.
And then I find that interesting. The second thing she mentions is racism. So what she's really talking about is white people are racist. That's really what she's saying. Earlier on, she had to mention her 25 different ethnicities as if that's relevant. It's not relevant at all. So, and even in the story, she didn't even make it relevant. I think what she tried to say earlier was, well, hey, I'm all these different races and I'm not all white. And that's why I struggled when I was younger, just excuse making, just to bring up racism on all sides. That's so more people can buy her books, so that white people will buy her books. So I just think that's funny. That's the second thing that's brought up. There's so many things before that you could bring up, but to bring that up as the second thing, I find interesting. That's all.
We have suffering, and it's all supposed to be under, this loving, caring God, who of course is Enki. God, Enki is the God of the Old Testament. And he's all supposed to be under this loving God who's not doing anything about it. And so I've always wondered, something's not right here. I mean, homelessness, disease, suffering, what is going on? And it continuously happens. I mean, we have the most deranged, psychotic people here. Why? And so I always had those questions, and it's just that I found the answer. The reason why that is because of the fact that this is a prison. Just like in a prison, you have rapists, you have murderers, you have all types of evil, insane people. Well, that's how it is here. And you have suffering in prison. You have all types of pain and anguish, and depression is even in prison.
But you also can't leave anytime you want. You know, you can't say like, well, I've had enough of this roller coaster ride. You know, let me go try something else. Let me get out of here. You know, maybe I'll come back in later or whatever, but I'm not. I got to get out and kind of take a break. Jeez. Yeah, you know, and also the rulers of this realm, the not the entities, obviously they're evil, but the people, the governments, fucking evil as well. So the whole place is just run by evil. And then I think the good things, the positive, quote, positive things, I think, that's us. I think that's our spirits shining through. But the things like that are beautiful to look at, the things that this realm provides us that are positive, I think are deceptions. I think it muddies the waters of what this place is. I think they came up with the heliocentric model. Heliocentrism. I said that wrong, I know. It's really hard for me to say that word today, but the heliocentric model, which rolls off the tongue for me a little bit better, I think that was to sort of disguise this soul trap. Because I think if people were not told that they live on a globe in the solar system and all that, they would think that they're inside something, like they're inside a box or something. And they'd look up and they'd be like, what is this place? And what is looking down? Is something looking down on me? Or like I'm inside something. I'm like in a box. So that's what I think.
And in prison, that's how it is here. So I always had a question that something wasn't right, and now I know the answer to why it wasn't right. And I know a lot of people may say, well, how do you know that this is true? Well, I know this is true because I've experienced, and I recommend, if anyone doesn't believe this, all you have to do is do astral projection for yourself, and you can find out this is real. This reincarnation trick, prison planet theory, it is absolutely real. There is a real trick that awaits everyone after death, and this is a prison.
Yeah, and I think that's true. I think there is definitely a trick awaiting us after death. The question that nobody can answer, or the answer to the question, and well, the question is that nobody can answer, is that we don't know what the trick's going to be. And we don't know if we're going to have our faculties, if we're going to have the ability to, do something about it. Like, we don't know exactly we just don't know. Like, for instance, when I'm in a dream, I don't know. I'm not saying it's like a dream when you die. I don't think it's like a dream. But in a dream that I have, I don't really know I'm in a dream. Things just kind of unfold and things happen, and I'm just kind of witnessing it, perceiving it. And if that's the case, if when the body passes and I rise up towards the astral, I'm screwed. So we don't know what tricks there's going to be. We don't know what type of abilities we're going to have either. And we're not going to know what buttons to push necessarily, within ourselves. But I don't want that to be discouraging. I know it sounds discouraging, but I think it really just comes down to your 100% belief that you are a sovereign being. Not 99%, not 98%. It's 100% your belief. It's very powerful. In your intention to be free needs to be 100%. And your belief that you can be free, and that you are a free spirit, a powerful, free, eternal, beautiful spirit that has and does not need to, that has no authority, does not need to answer to any authority. You need to believe that 100%, not 99%, not 98, 100%.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I understand that and I get it, but just to play devil's advocate, it seems like a lot of the problems that we experience in life come from people, not from the weather. Yeah, diseases are there, but most of the issues that we have are from people itself.
mhm.
And Tom Campbell says that overall,
But people didn't create diseases or the potential to have disease. And what does he mean that, weather doesn't really cause much suffering or problems? I mean, people's houses are taken by tornadoes and hurricanes. It all kind of depends on where you live, and but there's plenty of things that are outside of human control that's evil about this realm. Just having to eat, being a slave to eating, not a lot of time to figure out how to get out of here or even what this place is. If you're worried about getting food, worried about survival, because you want to avoid that suffering, the immediate suffering of hunger and potential starvation and death. So you want to satisfy that first, and then you might have a little bit of time to contemplate, but then you got to go hunting again, and you got to get more food and eat more and over again. And it, God forbid you fall down or trip and fall and hit your head on something really hard. That would suck. So there's a lot of pain. A lot of people these days, they make it out to be like the wild is okay. We should be out. Humans should be in the wild. Humans should be, one with nature. And, I think that's just another kind of trick, to make you think that it's just the humans causing these problems. It's not the realm, but it is the realm. And the realm put the humans in charge that cause much of the problem, most of the problems, but not all of them. But they also probably have demons that come in here, evil spirits, evil beings that have the human avatar, and they do evil things all around us. So, yeah, Chad wants to think that it's just the humans and the people. That gets you in the mindset of we can fix this place. Let's just elect a new, leader. We just got to get the right person in that position and things will start to improve. But that's not the case. That's not how it works. It will never work that way. It's been designed through and through this place to be evil and a place of suffering. And really the happiness that you get in life, I think, comes from your own spirit, and it comes from things in our environment here in this realm that are meant to deceive us, to muddy the waters and make us think that this place isn't so bad.
people have a low quality of consciousness. And so if you're dealing with a whole population of low quality of consciousness beings, which have a lot of fear, then you're going to have a lot of fearful emotions, anger and jealousy and deceit and lying and stealing and cheating and all that stuff. And that's why the world is so corrupt, and that's why it's so difficult to get ahead when you're a good person. But I don't know if it necessarily connotates being a soul trap or trick, but I definitely get what you're saying. I'm just playing devil's advocate. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there are a lot of messed up people. Every time I put on the news, I see that there's another crazy thing going on in the world. I think the latest is that there was somebody that ran their car into some public outing. And so it goes on all the time. There was a plane crash in, I think, South Korea, where everybody on board except for two people, and there was died, and there was a little boy. This is very interesting. I was going to make a video about this, but there was a little boy, South Korean boy, that I believe was only 3 or 4 years old. Mm-hmm. And you see him on the plane. His father took video of him, I believe.
Yeah.
You're saying, well, because, you hear like people die when it's their time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen that story. But that's another thing that these, experts, gurus in the soul trap, or whether it's spiritual, like Chad from Open Your Reality, and all these channels about spirituality and truth, and many of them, especially in Soul Trap, because I want to focus on that. They're never going to tell you the news is fake or it's fabricated, or that most, if not all things, generally speaking, that are 24-hour news coverage of an event are fabrications. They're not going to say that. They're not even going to suggest that most of the time. They never will just outright say the news is fake, or that it can be fake, or it can be fabricated, or has been. They don't talk about conspiracies generally. They don't talk about conspiracies from the past, infamous conspiracies, whatever, well-known conspiracies. They never do that. I don't know if anyone else really notices that. Again, I see that as a red flag. They stay in their lane. Their job is to push the soul trap theory in a way that is muddied, where they muddy the waters and they give you their take on it that misleads you, misdirects you, and they're usually selling you something at the same time, like some product, whether it's books or programs or to remove chakras, whatever, spiritual services, or quantum healing. All these services that they charge lots and lots of money for, and then of course they misdirect you, and that's for a whole nother video. But they never really have their feet on the ground and hey, that Charlie Kirk incident was a fabrication. The Charlie Kirk incident a few weeks back was a fabrication. They'll never tell you that.
But in a plane crash, you have 200-300 people of all different ages, different positions in life, and they all go out at the same time.
Right.
So I wonder about that.
Well, to respond to that, I will say this. Just like in a prison, you have, there's been a lot of prisons. For example, I've researched a lot into Rikers. And you have the prison guards. The prison guards are evil, and they commit all types of abuse, and they're doing it on behalf of the warden. Well, that's how it is here. You have people who are working on behalf of Enki, who is Lucifer, and Marduk, who is Satan, to make people's lives horrible. And I kind of attribute it to a mental illness, which is why, let me better explain this. Enki is mentally ill. Enki is extremely mentally ill. And and Marduk is absolutely mentally ill. And it's like that it is basically literally like the mental illness from them is being passed on to those who are here. This is why you have so many people doing horrible things to other people, because it's a mental illness, and mental illness is contagious in this retrospect. And so that's how you know that this is a prison, because you can have people who do horrible things, and a lot of them, majority of them, they get a slap on the wrist, or they go, or it's just, and it continuously happens. People have to wonder, why is it that crime continuously happens, that murders continuously happen? And I mean, it never stops. In a non-prison type of world, it would, it stops, but it continues going on because this is a prison. And the deaths that are happening, they're at the hands, people don't believe this, but they're at the hands of Enki, because Enki wants souls. He wants Isvis.
All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. I appreciate everybody watching and watching all the way through. You guys have a terrific rest of the day.